She opened with a layup. Hey handsome smiling face with smiling eyes. I'm on the red line platform at Porter, coffee from Dunk's cooling in my hand, feeling like maybe the app finally coughed up a human. She's cute, Southie rooftop selfies, golden hour, a Bruins jersey tied at the waist. We do a couple light volleys about pizza, Regina versus Santarpio's, socks cautiously hopeful, and dogs pro. I tell her I'm headed downtown. She says she's in the seaport for work but not annoying about it. Then it turns on a dime. Wait, how tall are you? Be honest. 5 feet 7 inches on paper, I write. 5 feet 8 inches if we're counting boots, which I am because I own them. She replies before my bubble even breathes. Ah, pocket boyfriend. Cute. The word hits like a low bridge on Starro. I try to laugh it off. Heard worse. I'm fun-sized, efficient on airplanes. Yeah, but like, she continues, you're shorter than my mom. I don't do short guys. No shot, kid. It's Boston mean, fast, casual, like a hard check against the boards, and the ref swallowed the whistle. I can feel the platform air get colder. A guy next to me's blasting, shipping up to Boston, out of a phone speaker like he's doing atmosphere. Totally fine to have preferences. I type, keeping it even. Maybe we call it there then. No hard feelings. She sends a voice note, and it's pure Southie snap, vowels parked illegal. Don't be soft, I'm just honest. My girls and I have a whole thing, pocket boyfriends. They're like portable. It's wicked cute. Portable. Like I'm a Stanley Cup. I should bail. Instead, curiosity, aka the reason I've been starrowed twice in one life, makes me ask, you always roast dudes like this? Only when they lie, she says. Half the app says 6 foot, and they're 5 feet 9 inches in Air Maxes. At least you admitted it. Then a screenshot lands, some other guy's chat, height circled in red, her group text above it. Another liar face with tears of joy. She's farming LOLs. I can see the usernames of her friends like a Greek chorus. Lynn's, Alyssa, Katie all caps. I swallow the part of me that wants to explain dignity to strangers. Okay, but I didn't lie, I write. Also, I'm a person, not content. She fires back a pin drop for a North End spot. Meet me outside Modern Pastry at 7. Stand by the door so I can see how tiny you are. If you're wicked tiny, I'm gonna dip, fair? I stop walking. The heat crawls up my neck like I'm in a February wind with no scarf. Folks moving around me to get to the Green Line stairs. A busker's murdering Sweet Caroline, and even that feels like a personal attack. Hey, I text, that's not funny to me. She sends 3 laughing crying emojis and a relax, I'm just playing. You can put me on your shoulders if you want to feel tall face with tears of joy. I picture it, me a prop in a story she'll tell later to Katie all caps. Remember pocket boyfriend who tried to be tall? I picture standing by the bakery door while she decides if I'm worth basic respect, like I'm an avocado at Trader Joe's. I picture my body becoming a group chat for sport. Something in me, call it the Boston in me, the little mass hole that only wakes up for line cutters and folks who block the box, goes still. Gonna pass, I write. Not doing additions for your friends. She replies instantly. El meo okay Napoleon. Good luck. I put the phone in my pocket like it's something fragile and stupid. I walk up to street level where the city's got that winter blue dome on it, and I do a lap past the common, the kind where you rehearse all the things you could have said louder and funnier. I think about the way she said honesty, like humiliation and truth are synonyms if you say 'em fast. My buddy texts, game at 8 cask? I tell him I'll meet him, and I do the thing my therapist, Cambridge obviously, told me to do. Name the feeling, then put it down. Embarrassed. Angry. Not 5 foot anything. Just a guy in a coat who remembers he's not a rating. She pings again, a last shot from the cheap seats. A screenshot, my chat, cropped so my name's gone, captioned the audacity. I don't reply. I report, block, and let the app eat its own tail. At Cask, the beer's cold and the fries are hot enough to burn your sins off. My buddy's like, you good? And I tell him the gist. He shrugs that Boston shrug that means both people are garbage and will live. Between periods I check my phone, habit mostly. A DM's in my requests from someone named Alyssa, one of the Greek chorus. For what it's worth, she writes, she's relentless about that. Sorry if she was a jerk. It helps and doesn't. I send back a thumbs up and pocket the grace. On the walk to the tee, I pass a packy, a drunk bachelorette howling, a guy trying to parallel a ram into a space that's a Honda Fit on its best day. City's a funhouse mirror. You can lose your shape if you let it. Down on the platform, the wind does that tunnel howl, colder than any comment. I take off my hat, slick my hair back with my hand, put it on again. Some kid in a BC hoodie gives me the nod. That's the whole sermon. Train screeches in, doors huff. Inside, everybody's regular height when we're packed shoulder to shoulder. I stare at the route map like it's a poem and practice not absorbing strangers' projections like shrapnel. My stop chimes. I stand, and I swear I gained an inch on the ride. Might just be the boots. Might just be me. Single father of 3. They're my world. If you don't have what it takes to help me raise my kids, then move aside and let a real woman step up. If you want me alone, you will pay for the babysitter. Must help cover beard and hair care. Being this beautiful ain't cheap. Must have your own car, preferably a 7-seater. Must cook, clean, and be submissive. No taller than 5 feet 7 inches. Under 100 kilograms. Must be fit. Have your own income. And your own teeth. Your own teeth about knocked me clean off the MARTA platform. I'm from here, born off Peachtree like everybody else claims, so I can handle a little ATL swagger. But this was a whole HR policy with a side of misogyny. I screenshotted it to my group chat. My cousin texted back, he hiring a girlfriend or a maid? My friend Keisha said, sis wants a Chick-fil-A team member, closed on Sundays. Before I could finish laughing, he slid into my inbox. Listen, queen, don't swipe if you ain't ready to step. Standards real simple. Simple where? I wrote. The DMV? He hit me with a voice note, smooth like a radio drop but sharp on the edges. Ain't no disrespect. I'm a provider. But I got expectations. I'm raising kings. I need a woman who's gone step correct. You feel me? I didn't, but I was nosy. We set coffee on the Beltline, daytime, public, where the scooters can witness. He rolled up late, 2 phones in one hand and a ring light in the other, like he was about to interview me and then go live about it. Shirt said #GirlDad in gold foil. He hugged one-armed, still talking into Instagram. This the queen I told y'all about, he told the front-facing camera. She looked like a Proverbs 31 baddie. I waved at the internet and prayed my edges weren't in 4K. In person, he was handsome in that Atlanta way, fresh fade, beard with its own zip code, sneakers too bright to look at directly. Also in that Atlanta way, attention was a currency, and I was the ATM. We sat. He placed the ring light on the table, then angled my face toward it. Gotta catch that glow, he said. I got my own glow, I said, turning it off. He smiled like I'd passed a quiz. Okay, so, logistics. He thumbed open notes. There was a list. Babysitter fee, send receipt. Gas stipend, if she want to be seen. Beard/hair contribution, Cash App only. Gym accountability pics, 3x/week. Meal plan, she cooks Sundays. 7-seater preferred, Uber Black acceptable if she pay. I blinked. Is this a contract? It's structure, he said. Modern women need guidance. Modern men need a calendar app, I said. And humility. He chuckled like I'd danced but missed the beat. I'm masculine, he said. But I'm not mean. A child screamed in the distance like the city agreed to disagree. He ordered for me without asking. She gone do an iced vanilla, skinny, she petite. And then explained submission meant soft energy, no arguments, match my program. He used program like he'd been to a seminar and came back with a lanyard. My phone buzzed. Keisha, share location. I did. He leaned in, cologne first. So what you pitching in? Babysitter's $80, so Cash App 40 and we even. Even? I said. I ain't seen a kid. Tonight, queen. He winked. If you want to see me solo, you gotta invest. Investments usually have returns, I said. He grinned big. You'll get your return. I changed the subject to his kids, ages, schools, little hobbies, trying to center something real. He softened a hair. They good boys, he said. Smart. Respectful. Just need a woman's touch. Then like a switch, also teeth. You got your own. Folks be out here with the veneers looking like piano keys. Got my own, I said. And boundaries. He laughed, checked one of his phones, then asked me for a gym mirror selfie to prove discipline. I told him my body wasn't a quarterly report. He shrugged, like that was a learning he'd consider later if it fit his brand. We wrapped. He insisted on planning dinner at the Battery. Bring something cute, he said. And 40 for childcare. Tell you what, I said. I'll bring me. You bring your grown man wallet. He sent 3 laughing emojis and a flex. That night at the restaurant foyer, varsity neon buzzing down the block like a red-orange threat, he arrived with 2 little boys and a diaper bag. Surprise, he said, beaming. Figure we see if you bond. One boy hid behind his legs. The other blinked at me like I was a substitute teacher. Hold this, he said, handing me the diaper bag like a relay baton. I gotta run to the car, beard oil. I handed it right back. I'm not a test. It's family, he said, offended. You said you wanted real. I said I wanted respect. He huffed, pulled out his phone, went live. Modern women ain't built like Big Mama. They want soft life but don't want to help raise kings. Cut the sermon, I said. Go feed your kings. Without an audience. His mouth opened, closed. The boys tugged on his shirt. He muttered something about weak females, then turned the live back on and called me bitter to people who don't pay child support either. First message comes sweet as praline. Evenin', BB. That smile got me floatin' down St. Charles like a second-line umbrella. Let me serenade you sometime. Okay, cute. Pictures him on bourbon, beads like ivy, chin tilted like a trumpet bell. I say, where you play? And he says, wherever you walk in, Cher. I can do a little local cheese. I'm not made of stone. I'm made of café au lait and poor decisions I already repented for. Then he takes a hard left off canal. Need all of you, he types, that mouth lord. I'd bust in that smile. Felt the whole quarter tilt. Romance snapped like a damp match. I swallowed air that tasted like fryer oil and rain. Typed, absolutely not. Backspaced. Sent, don't talk to me like that. He drops a LOL relax with a wink and 3 purple devil heads, like the devils were gentlemen. I'm just being real, he adds. Women love honesty. You dangerous looking. You know what you do to a man. I put the phone face down on the cafe table, so hard the spoon kissed the saucer. Outside, a mule clopped by, ears working the heat like fans. Inside, the ceiling fan clacked like it might testify. My hands shook the way they do when you think about your mother and your niece, and all the women you've seen laugh along to stay safe. He kept going. Pull up to Frenchman, he wrote. We'll catch some brass. I'll whisper poems in your ear, BB. Then, because God don't give with both hands, another line. Promise I won't nut till dessert. Face blowing a kiss. I blocked him for the afternoon. Unblocked later because I was angry and wanted him to apologize to the version of me in my head who always gets apologies. He didn't. He doubled down. Let me show you a night with a soundtrack, he said. You ain't gon' be mad when I sing to you. I should have left him in the swamp where he typed. Instead I set a meeting in public, a tiny jazz bar down Decatur where the trumpet puts sugar on your sternum and tourists forget to be loud. I told my cousin where I'd be, shared the location, walked in past the doorman who calls everybody baby like we're family anyway. He was already there, hat brim low, shirt open 2 buttons too far like humidity is an excuse. He stood, kissed the air next to my cheek, smelled like cologne trying to beat the river. You even prettier in silhouette, he said. Let me get you a Sazerac. Water's fine, I said. Band slid into a slow thing, drummer brushing like he was erasing mistakes. Candlelight did that mean trick where everybody looks like promise. He leaned close, voice poured over ice. You got a mouth made for hymns, he said. And sins. Compliments without creeper, I said. Try it. Aight, he said, blinking like the light changed. You have vision, BB. Beat. Make me want to do wrong in good clothes. Strike 2, I said, smiling with just the bottom lip, the way my granny taught me when a man mistook manners for invitation. He laughed, bright, then ducked his head, tried to get under my guard like a cat under a fence. I'm just old school, he said. Men back then spoke on it. I'm speaking on it. You speak like a bathroom wall, I said. The trumpet swelled. He leaned in like the horn dragged him. His breath set up shop at my ear. I want that mouth, he whispered. Want to paint that smile white. It was a sentence made of mildew. I put my hand on the bar like it could hold me still. Caught the bartender's eye and did the little circle that means check in every language that matters to women. She nodded, slid the bill like a lifeline. He touched my wrist, not hard, but like he assumed, which is a kind of hard. Ah, BB, he said, softness turned weapon. Don't be like that. I'm just telling the truth. Ain't you tired of boys who pretend? I'm a man from here. We spicy. Spicy ain't the same as spoiled, I said. Peeled his fingers off one by one like rings. He tried a different key. Okay, he said, hands up. You running me. I like that. I like a woman with a little bite. He licked his bottom lip like punctuation. Let me earn it. I'll be good. Good men don't put bust and smile in the same breath, I said. Not even in jest. Everybody nasty, he said. I'm just honest. Everybody eats, I said. We don't all chew with our mouth open. I paid, over-tipped. He looked offended I'd stolen his chance to prove chivalry by buying me like a receipt. You cold, he muttered, but softer, a drawl trying to drag me back. You live icebox. Bet you melt. Not for you, I said. Not for that. The alley out back was slick with last hour's storm, magnolia leaves shining like guilty things. A sax busker under a balcony squeezed out something that could have been love if it didn't have to work so hard at it. I ghosted through the courtyard, skirt held in one hand, phone in the other, heartbeat in both. He pitched it like a Groupon. Hey, you commute Red Line, right? I can scoop you after work, save you some venture money. Win-win. Then the fine print. Only thing is price of admission's a lil fun. Goal is you make me finish before we hit your stop. If you don't, I get to, finish how I want winking face. I read it twice on the Jackson platform, wind knifing down the tunnel like January doesn't respect calendars. The train howled in and blew grit into my coffee. I stood there with salt on my boots and someone's son in my DMs turning sexual coercion into a party game. Absolutely not, I texted. Backspaced. You good? He sent a string of laughing emojis, slick Midwestern charm on a used car lot. Come on, it's a vibe. 5-star Uber energy, minus the app fees. You're cute, I'm generous, we both get home. Chicago hustle. That line, Chicago hustle, like the city's grit, was his blessing to be gross. I screenshotted, sent it to the group chat. My friend Jazz replied, report and block. My cousin in Berwyn sent a Malort meme that somehow felt like a shower. He kept going. I know all the side streets. I can get you from the Loop to Uptown faster than the Red any day. Heated seats. Mints. Hansani. I take care of my riders. It wasn't flirting, it was a brochure. I could hear him saying it to other women, too, the way you can hear a scam's edges where the sincerity should be. I imagined his sedan idling at curbside like a lure, rubber floor mats scrubbed, a folded towel on the passenger seat for spills. A kit that sounds considerate until you realize its logistics. I said, meet in public or not at all. He offered tacos near Lake in Wabash, then accidentally dropped a pin 1 block farther, where the lighting's worse and the foot traffic thins between rushes. Win-win, right? I went anyway, nosy and mad make a dumb duo. Shared my location with Jazz and set a 30-minute check-in. The night was that Chicago gray that turns everything into a Xerox. His car was exactly what I pictured, silver, anonymous, idling. He leaned on the hood, hands in pockets like he had a promise to sell. Hey, he said, voice smooth as a radio promo. Told you I got 5-star energy. He popped the passenger door like a magician revealing a dove. The console held gum, sanitizer, mints in a tidy tray. The towel was folded with hotel corners. I stayed on the sidewalk. We're not doing this. He grinned wider, salesman hearing, maybe inside, no. You ain't even heard the best part. You set the playlist. Country, rap, NPR, I don't care. I'm adaptable. And I'm not a creep, okay? He did the hands up move men do when they want the world's cookie for not actively being dangerous. You literally med me a creep script, I said. My safety's not a coupon code. He clicked his tongue, disappointed like I'd lowballed him on a Camry. Relax. People too sensitive now. It's just grown folks playing. You act like I'm kidnapping you. A red line train roared overhead. The L's rattled the metronome of my backbone. I'm acting like my body belongs to me, I said. He tried that fake offended thing. Wow, you must be fun at parties. Then the pivot. We can just drive. Hand stuff optional. He winked toward the console, like a stage direction. I walked. Directly past him, into the taqueria with the fluorescent menu and the saints taped to the counter. He's bothering me, I told the cashier, voice steady because practice. The cashier nodded once and said, we got you, loud enough to be gospel. The cook in back banged a pan like punctuation. He followed me in, bluster first. Whoa, don't be dramatic. The cashier stared back like Lake Michigan stares at a pier. It'll take you or not, but it won't argue. He lost volume quick. I stood under the heat lamp and texted my location again. He hovered, then slunk out, then circled back, then finally idled at the curb like he was still the prize. I ordered 2 carne asada tacos because adrenaline needs salt. The cashier slid them across with that Chicago care that doesn't announce itself. You want a water? She asked. I did. He texted from the curb. You humorless as hell. I was being generous. Most girls would be grateful. Grateful for what? I wrote. Human trafficking with rubber mats? He sent the classic, LOL relax. Then a string of eggplants and a steering wheel like 8th grade, and Craigslist had a baby. I reported his profile and blocked him. Then, because the anger was still buzzing like the open sign, I sent a PSA to the group chat and posted a screen-capped warning to my story. Within minutes, 3 women DM'd me versions of "he hit me with that too." Predator's economy, scale the pitch, catch the tired. I took the L home on purpose. Stood in the middle of the car where everybody's breath fogs the windows and the smells don't negotiate with you. Past Fullerton, the train went quieter. The city outside blurred, mural, billboard, brick, snow, someone's Christmas lights still insisting. My skin was doing that prickly thing like my edges were a radio, trying to tune in a station. Uptown, I got off and walked fast under the tracks where pigeons sleep like they pay rent. A couple smoked outside the green mill, jazz slanting through the door in crooked honey lines. The lake wind slapped me. I slapped it back by zipping my coat to my chin. A car slowed beside me, and then sped up when I looked. You learn that posture here, the one that says I'm not alone even when I am. Home, I locked the door and put my keys in the bowl shaped like Illinois my aunt got at the craft fair on Damon. I brushed my teeth because his sentence had called my mouth by the wrong name. The taste of mint told me the world could reset, at least a little. I texted Jazz in. Safe. She replied with a string of hot dog emojis because Chicago jokes heal faster. I put my Venture card next to my wallet, like a little altar. We're lucky to have trains that shriek and complain and still show, lucky to know the rhythm of no set to steal. Tomorrow I'll take the red line again. Platform wind'll be disrespectful, some guy'll blast music off a phone, and a stranger will probably try to sell me a chain. I'll keep my body and my dollars on me. Safety's not negotiable. Convenience can catch the next train. He started with prayer hands and vowels. Please go out with me, he wrote. Then again. Please, 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 please. 10 pleases total, like he was summoning a pizza. It was goofy enough I smiled into my caribou cup. I'm Minnesotan. We award points for trying, don't you know? I answered polite, because that's the law. Hey, appreciate it. I'm not free this week. Take care. The flood picked up speed. Gosh, I'm just real eager. You seem so nice. Folded hands. I'm on my knees here, figuratively LOL. I'd treat you right. Open doors, shovel your car, buy you a Juicy Lucy after church if you're into that haha. A minute later. So Saturday? No thanks, I wrote. Not looking to date right now. Well gee, he said. Guess you like jerks. The prayer hands curdled. Nice guys finish last in Minnesota too, huh? Real cool. You could hear the smile freeze and crack. I muted him and went on with my day, Target run, walked the lake even though the wind had teeth, texted my sister about tater-tot hot-ish logistics. When I checked again, there were more. A paragraph about how he's not like other guys, he reads. A selfie at a gym where the mirrors looked exhausted. A screenshot of his notes app titled Openers, A-B. Underneath. Option A, beg? Option B, confident? My skin did that static thing. Please don't message me again, I wrote, big girl voice. This is not working for me. He sent a thumbs up, then immediately. Trivia tonight at Muddy Waters? You love trivia, says so in your profile. I'll be there at 7. Okay. Smiling face with smiling eyes. I felt my stomach do an ice fishing plunge. The happens to is a very specific Midwestern horror. I called the bar, asked for the host. Hi, I said, there might be a guy who thinks we're meeting. We aren't. If he shows up, just seat me separate, and if he tries to join, we're not together. Gotcha, hon, the host said. Happens more than you'd think. I told 2 friends. They came in puffy coats like cavalry. We claimed a high top near the kitchen where the heat lamp could vouch for us. Snow sifted past the window like someone shaking powdered sugar over the whole city. We named our team Purple Rain and pretended not to scan the door. He walked in at 7-Eleven wearing the kind of smile you put on for church and court. He spotted me, lifted both hands like a ref signaling touchdown, and beelined. I shook my head. The host intercepted with the grace of a hockey goalie. Oh hey pal, she's already on a team, she said. You're welcome to play solo though. He wobbled between wounded and performative, then sat 2 tables away, back angled so his shoulders could accuse. Round 2, he sent another DM. Wow. Cold. You didn't even give me a chance. I brought you a local IPA. A photo followed, pint sweating next to an empty chair. You coming over or nah? I said no. I typed, fingers steady. Please stop. He posted to his story within 5 minutes. Black screen, white text. Nice guys always get used. Women say they want respect, then go for chads. Whatever. A Twin Cities Vaguebook classic. We won 3rd place, which meant a $10 gift card and a plastic trophy shaped like a brain. We cheered louder than necessary. He left without paying his tab. The bartender rolled her eyes and circled back with a rag and a knowing look. Happens more than you'd think, she repeated like a refrain. Outside, the cold had sharpened. We stood under the flickering streetlight and did that little Minnesota huddle where you say goodnight for 15 minutes while everyone's eyelashes frost. You okay? My friend asked. I am, I said, and realized it was true. Relief is its own romance. Choosing cozy over coerced felt like a vow I'd finally learned to keep. We drove to Matt's for a Juicy Lucy because spiked calories count as self-care. The cheese burned my tongue in that perfect way, and steam fogged the windows while Prince hummed on the radio low. I blocked him proper, filed the screenshots, and texted a gentle PSA to my little circle. Heads up on this guy, persistence masquerading as manners. Back home, I shook salt on the stoop and watched it bite the ice, the way a good boundary eats through slick. Snow kept falling, quiet as a kept promise. Inside, the radiator clanked like it had opinions. I slipped on wool socks, set my phone face down, and let the room warm up around the space I didn't give away. Not a prize for please, not a reward for manners. Just a person, warm as a kitchen, choosing my own weather. Bio said San Diego, 3,600 k's away. I wrote, mate, you're a tad far. Wrong Brisbane? With a laughy face, so he'd know I'm friendly, not feral. He comes back straight away. Haha, nah, I was literally there last week. Low-key vibin', your energy though. Congrats on visiting a map, I said. You moving here or just collecting time zones? Could, he goes. Like, I'm flexible. Then, also NGL, I've got a rare moment to myself RN to come, so if I go quiet, that's why. Self-care, you feel? My thumbs froze over the screen like I'd just seen a snake on the footpath. I was parked outside Woolies in the valley, sweat sticking my shirt to the seat. Somewhere a magpie argued with a Uda. I read it again, blinking. Nope, still the same sentence. He had announced that. Like weather. Like traffic on the M1. That's quite a share, I typed, because Queensland niceness is baked in with the heat. It's all good, he replied. Honesty is kinda my thing. Then a voice note, SoCal drawl, breathy like he'd jogged 3 steps and called it CrossFit. Just being real, sunshine. No taboos. Plenty of taboos, I muttered, shoving the phone in the cup holder like it might start leaking. I stared at the Woolies trolley guy doing laps and felt sincerely grateful for high-vis vests and public daylight. He pivoted immediately, like a startled crab. So what do you do for fun out there? Another message. I was in Brissy for a sec, South Bank was chill. Another. A selfie on a beach that wasn't ours, board behind him, lotion bottle on the coffee table, tabs open on a laptop he'd forgotten was in frame. Wish you were here, he added, winky face, as if he hadn't just invited me into the world's worst live stream. Righto, I wrote. Well, I was literally just trying to buy bananas. Haha, go off queen, he said. I'll hit the shower. Then a second voice note, water starting in the background, his tone slipping from cheeky into something that made my skin pull tight, like a motzi had landed, and I couldn't swat it in public. The internet is incredible for a lot of things, paying Rego, streaming footy, ordering a kebab to your couch. It's less incredible when a stranger's body tries to land in your arvo because he mistook oversharing for intimacy. I closed the app and stared at the steering wheel till the sweat dried. It's funny what you think about. My niece at netball, my mum's nag about sunscreen, every hand sanitizer pump I've touched since 2020. Also the specific way this felt, like someone had yanked a door I didn't open. He messaged again while I was in produce. Yo sunshine, you there? Apple emoji. Peach emoji. Steering wheel emoji for some reason. I'm super respectful BTW. I put the phone face down on the capsicums and breathed like my Pilates teacher says. At checkout I told the kid bagging my groceries, "You're doing great, darling." Like it was a spell for the whole world. Out on in street, the heat pressed a palm to my forehead. He'd sent another shot, beach at golden hour, board tucked under his arm, the kind of sunset people think makes anything profound. Sunsets here are insane, he captioned. Kinda miss Brissy already. You were here last week, I typed. We're still drying the towels. "LOL, you're spicy," he said. "You should totally fly out." "Mate, go touch grass," I wrote. "Without your phone." "Wow," he replied. "Didn't realize you were such a prude." There it was, the trick where your boundary becomes their accusation. I pictured him in his lounge, board propped in the corner like a personality, lotion on the table like a prop, the window open to a view that doesn't make him less far. I blocked him, chucked the groceries in the boot, and drove home with the AC doing its best. The jacarandas on my street had dropped their purple like confetti. The footpath looked like a party we'd already cleaned up. I poured cold water into a stubby holder because that's what we do, and sat on the steps while a gecko clicked like a tiny metronome. My friend texted, "Pub trivia tonight?" I sent back, "Absolutely," and a screenshot of the worst sentence a stranger had ever donated to my afternoon. She sent 3 skulls and, "Men should come with warnings." We met later under a fan that squeaked like a cricket with asthma. I told the story once, then once with more swears. Then we let it go because the schnitties arrived and the band in the corner found a groove that made your shoulders forget they were attached to a spine. I brushed my teeth extra long before bed, not because I was dirty, but because reclaiming your mouth is a ritual too. He had that polished hillbro cadence, talked like a committee hearing with a smile. "I bartend on the side," he said. "Do a few programs with Allegory, hissed a coupe at Columbia Room before it closed, you know the scene. In DC everybody's got a side hustle and a business card." I didn't blink. "Come by, I'll mix you something special," he texted. "Neighbors are loud, my place is quieter." I screenshotted the address to the group chat because that's the kind of city this is. Sirens at night, staffers at dawn, witnesses always a text away. His apartment on H Street was neat in that curated way. Bar cart styled like a campaign ad. Cut crystal decanter, jiggers lined at parade rest, a lemon with a single perfect peel missing like a bite. He did patter while he built. Split base, rye and cognac, dash of Benedictine, couple house bitters. "You'll love." He handed me a glass unlike his, a squat, heavy old-fashioned with a floral etch I didn't see elsewhere. "This one brings out the aromatics," he said, already sipping from his matching glass that somehow didn't match. Something in my stomach tapped a gavel. He watched me more than the drink, eyes tracking my throat like he was taking a vote. I lifted it, smiled, and said, "You gotta try this." I tipped it toward him, generous. He put his lips to the rim and did the fakest swallow I've ever seen. Cheeks that never moved, Adam's apple on recess. He handed it back too quickly. The room hummed, distant siren, fridge motor, my pulse. I set the glass down on a coaster and noticed there were 2 coasters, one with a faint ring like a ghost circle, one clean. Mine was the first. "Cute chain lock," I said, trying casual. It was installed on the outside of the bedroom door. "For my dog," he said. He didn't have a dog. He turned to crush ice with a mallet. The drawer he opened flashed a pill splitter, ordinary and not, like a stapler that could ruin a life. I smiled like a staffer eating donor chicken, slid my phone under the counter lip, and typed to my friend, "Call me in 60 seconds. Emergency voice." It rang on cue. "Oh God," I said into nothing. Roommate locked herself out. I grabbed my tote, my keys between fingers, added the little DC laugh we use to lube exits. "I'm so sorry, rain check?" He looked genuinely surprised, like he hadn't budgeted for me walking. "We didn't even," he started. "Yeah," I said, meeting his eyes. "No thanks, I like my glass like yours." On H Street the air tasted like fryer oil in summer. My hands shook all the way to Union Station. I texted the group, "Home." "Fine. Trust your body." The creepiest part wasn't what happened, it was what almost did. New rule after that, same glass, open bottle, public first. Also a small chorus I keep for nights like this, whispered over the metro's brake squeal. You listened, you left, you lived. Ugh, okay, so picture this, I'm trapped. Not jail, worse, I'm in my Prius, which has officially hit the oven setting outside the Arcadia Safeway. The dash reads 114 degrees, and the AC is wheezing like my great-aunt after a 3-pack of Marlboros. I'm trying to read this line again, the heat making the phone glass greasy. The eggplant emoji. It's sitting there winking at me, right next to a message that screams, I need a place to crash like 5 minutes ago. Phoenix humor is this dark, twisted thing. We joke about frying eggs on the sidewalk, but we actually do it. So I try to give the dude grace. Maybe he's just panicking. Maybe this is peak gallows flirting. I swipe right, trying to keep the vibe light but human. Are you okay? My mom drilled certain things into me. Carry jumper cables, always have spare granola bars, never, ever date a project. But still, that basic human reflex kicked in. He replies in seconds. That's always a red flag, right? Too fast. Real talk, he writes, his text sounding dry and cracked like the desert ground. It's hot, and I am absolutely out of options. Lost the job in May. Been bouncing between couches until I wore out every last friend. Lease is gone. Everything I own is in a storage unit in Tempe, mattress stuffed in the back of my truck. You seem like a rescuer, Sparkles. That word, rescuer, it snags me instantly, like Cholla cactus grabbing your ankle when you thought you were walking safely 10 feet away. It's painful, immediate, and full of tiny, sharp barbs. I type back, I'm so sorry. I ask if he's connected with services. This city is full of churches that are basically little islands of mercy. Swamp coolers humming, folding chairs set up. Go there. Survive the day. He ignores that. Instead, he sends a photo of a storage unit. The door is rolled up like a big mechanical tongue. Inside, plastic totes, a cheap fan, a PlayStation, and a futon mattress folded awkwardly, looking like a giant, sad taco. Then another shot, the bed of a beat-up Silverado, lined with a comforter that definitely had a better life somewhere else. See, I can make this work. I'm resourceful, but it would work so much better with a soft place to land. We'd take care of each other. I give good connection. My beautiful boy is, loyal to winking face. Innuendo layered right on top of genuine catastrophe. It's a toxic cocktail. The part of me that is genetically programmed to save things, stray roadrunners, sad little plants from the clearance rack, thrifted chairs with wobbly legs, starts to reach for her tool belt. I can fix this. But the other part of me, the one that has lived through a dozen July Augusts in Phoenix, screams, very calmly, asterisk heat kills here. Don't let someone else's emergency set your house on fire. Asterisk. I ask, do you have family? Anyone out of town? He says his mom is in Payson, but her new boyfriend don't like him. He says his ex kept their dog. Then he hits me with the kicker. Women with rescuer energy have always shown up when he needed them most. He says I'm giving off that vibe. I type very deliberately, I'm not housing. I follow it up with, but I can send you links to shelters and cooling centers. He pivots so fast it's pure Phoenix freeway driving. No signal, just sudden, aggressive motion. Totally get it, he writes, sounding completely unfazed. How about just tonight? I'll sleep on the couch. Or the floor. I don't care. Or your bed, winking face, kidding. Unless a massive monsoon cloud grumbles over Camelback Mountain, looking like it's seriously considering dropping some rain. I watch the palm fronds go totally still in that weird pre-storm hush, and I feel my spine go rigid, anticipating the impact. Before I can even process the unless, he sends another picture. It's a bathroom mirror selfie. He's got a towel riding low, just enough suggestion to make the message clear. The caption, my boy says hi. I flip the phone over, face down on my thigh. The black screen reflects my own stressed out face. I think about every woman I know who tried to help a man like this and ended up feeding one more mouth, plus his fragile ego, plus his deep, corrosive shame. The line between compassion and being conned is thinner than a spider's silk in this heat. He texts again. I'll make it worth your while. We can be intense. I'll do chores shirtless. I'm a beast in the kitchen. And elsewhere, winking face. Then the final grubby punchline, a Cash App tag. If not housing, help me with storage, $60 due by Friday. I breathe. Inhale to 4, hold, exhale to 6. My yoga teacher's voice is the only thing keeping me from throwing the phone across the parking lot. I tell him again I can't host. I send the list anyway. Cooling centers, the downtown shelter, the church that opens overnight when the weather service issues the extreme heat scream, the community org that does rental assistance when the fund isn't dry. Heat kills here. I write stark and final. Call these. Today. Wow, he replies. Cold. You got a big house energy but small heart vibes. Thought you were different. There it is. The turn. The instant flip from flattery to punishment. The rescuer in me tries to argue, to justify, to apologize. The adult in me, the one who pays the mortgage and knows how gaslighting works, blocks him. I send one final silent no. He manages to sneak in one last eggplant and a middle finger emoji before the block takes effect. I sit there, the sky finally deciding. A curtain of brown dust rolls in, a massive haboob, hitting the city like a wall. People in the lot are scrambling, shoving carts, running for cover. I drive home slow, the wipers squeaking dusty arcs across the windshield. In my kitchen, the evaporative cooler is rattling. I put a bowl of ice in front of it, a gesture of habit and hope. Then, I do what I can do without inviting the storm into my actual living room. I donate to a local housing nonprofit. I check their website. $1.25 buys bus passes and box fans. I drop a case of water at the local fire station that has a sign saying, "Take one if you need one." It's not heroic. It's not enough. But it's not nothing. Later, the storm passes, and the rain scrubs the heat off the world for 10 perfect, beautiful minutes. I sit on the stoop and watch steam lift from the asphalt like ghosts finally escaping the pavement. The desert rewards boundaries the way it mercilessly punishes carelessness. I think of his storage unit, the mattress taco, the way he blurred the line between a roof and sex, treating them like the same currency. Desire shouldn't be the price of someone else's survival. My porch light hums. The ocotillo in my yard drinks deeply, looking forgiven. I lock my door, then I lock my phone, and I let the storm pass without inviting it in. Part A, Boston. Back Bay date, white wine John. She's glossy in that Newbury Street way, cashmere sweater, perfume that says tuition. I show her one photo on my phone, my niece in an Eagles onesie, because I like to lead with diplomacy. She goes, "Oh cute, let me see more." And before I can say nah, she's got the phone, thumb moving like she's clocked in. Not swiping the one picture, scrolling my entire camera roll. Dogs, receipts, screenshots, a pic of my ex's old birthday cake. She's doing a museum tour. Then she pulls the stunt, holds my phone behind her head while telling a story about Nantucket, thumb still working. Like a magician palming cards. I catch the micro-wrist tilt, the breath she holds when a name pops up in a notification. "Who's Maya?" she asks, smiling like a cat at a fish tank. "My cousin." I say take the phone back. The vibe's cooked. I pay early, leave a nice tip so the server doesn't hate men on my behalf, and say the Boston goodbye. "Great meeting you." Translation, never again. Part B, Philly. Back home, South Street bar with a sticky shuffleboard and a good jukebox. She's got big hoops and a laugh that hits the back wall. I hand her my phone to cue a song, simple trust exercise. She ghosts the music app and opens messages like it belongs to the city. I catch the move in the window's reflection, that tiny downward angle, hunting. "Just checking the vibe, yo," she says, all casual, thumb skimming names like she's reading a menu. "Nah," I tell her, friendly but firm. "No scrolling, please." "It's not that deep," she says and chuckles. Then a smirk when an old photo bubbles up, me and a friend at the parade arm in arm. "Ah, she cute," she says, waiting for me to explain my entire past like it's crosswalk law. I lock the phone. Little blue bubble spins, the night shrinks 2 sizes. It's not the snooping, it's the entitlement, the idea my whole context is public domain if we split fries. Surveillance dressed as flirt. She shrugs. "You hiding something?" "I'm keeping something," I say. "Same difference," she snaps. I toss cash, over tip again, bartenders are witnesses, and give the Philly closer. I'm gonna bounce, no hard feelings. Outside, SEPTA rumbles by like a sermon. I hit the corner spot for a hoagie, and let the roll absorb the nonsense. New policy after that, guided access on dates, boundaries with manners. I still share a photo, just one, and I practice the line until it's easy. No scrolling, please. Folks who get it, get it. Folks who don't can swipe a stranger's life like a lottery ticket. Horror wasn't blood, it was the theft of context. Tiny crime, big ick. I walk home under row house halos, phone in pocket, trust zipped up next to it. Cheesesteak, not chaos. Oklahoma City's nice, don't get me wrong. Big sky, kind folks, but the dates? 2 back-to-back jaunts that made me miss a Wawa hoagie more than my ex. Date 1, brunch spot off Classen. We split chicken and waffles like civilized humans. When the check lands, I do the Philly polite thing. Throw in 15, I'll cover the rest. My guy snatches the bill like it's 4th and goal. Well, actually with tax and tip. He whips out his phone calculator like a badge. For 5 whole minutes, he narrates percentages, surcharges, and a 13-cent mystery he tracks with the focus of a crime podcast. Face goes pink with triumph when he lands on $14.87. He places the coins on the bill like a memorial and sits back, chest out. I tip extra so the server doesn't hate women, and I leave with the ick you only get from weaponized arithmetic. Date 2, different dude, same week. Parking lot outside a steakhouse washed in that sodium orange light that makes everyone look like a traffic cone. We say hi, do the little, how was your drive jig? Before we hit the door, he leans in, oilfield swagger, and drops it. Ain't wasting time or money. If you ain't trying to come back with me after, we don't gotta eat. I laugh, because reflex, then clock he's dead serious. He reaches for my car door like it's a joke. Come on, relax. I'm already sliding back into the driver's seat. Lock clicks, window down 2 inches, the universal boundary. Nah, I say Philly plain. We done here. He calls me difficult, then princess, then a word my nana would wash out with Palmolive. I put the car in gear, give him a look that means move and roll. He's still talking to the air when I hit the exit. Here's the horror, if you're taking notes, it isn't alleys and jump scares. It's receipts and asphalt. It's a man using math to measure dominance. It's a man calling extortion efficiency. Mundane corridors where you practice saying no fast. I drive to Brahms because sweetness resets the jaw. Order a double scoop, tip like I'm undoing a small crime, eat in the lot with the AC on and the radio low. Phone buzzes, a tumbleweed of insults from ultimatum guy, 0 audience. Blocked. I text the group chat a PSA and a selfie with my ice cream, captioned cheesesteak energy, Oklahoma edition. Then I sit a minute, breathe, and remember, the quickest exit is sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself. Philly rule travels. I'm a Seattle transplant in Kansas City for a week of meetings, so I did the thing you're not supposed to do in a city you barely know. Agreed to a blind date at a nice spot on the plaza. Don't judge. After 3 straight nights of hotel salad and room unit HVAC, the idea of human conversation and something not wrapped in plastic sounded downright Pacific Northwest wholesome. She picked the restaurant, glossy, chandeliered, prices that whisper, and I arrived early because that's my religion. The host clocked my out-of-townness immediately, I have the raincoat aura, and parked me at a 2-top with a view of the door. I ordered a seltzer, texted my location to 2 friends back home, Seattle habits die in committee, and watched the plaza neon smear twilight like oil paint. She came in selfie-ready, winter white coat, designer bag, a smile that landed then slid. Pretty for sure. We did the hello shuffle, she waved off menus with I already know what's good, and we were still mid-weather, I speak fluent weather, when 2 of her friends just happened to arrive. Like a stage cue. Oh my God, what are you doing here? She sang, surprised the way actors are surprised when the curtain rises. Before I could say, they were scooting chairs, settling bags, air kissing. No one asked if I minded the table becoming a cast. I minded. Friend A had a brittle, plaza gloss smile, teeth like a gated community. Friend B carried the purse equivalent of a monthly rent. They ordered top shelf everything without looking at the right side of the menu. Craft cocktails with branded ice, appetizers that needed 3 nouns each, steaks like down payments. They talked over me with overlapping stories that contradicted themselves. Last weekend was Chicago and also Denver. Someone named Kayla was both engaged and dumped. A boutique owner was simultaneously their bestie and such a hater. When I spoke, I got the eye flick, clocking the door swing behind me more carefully than my sentence. A server, Emily per the name tag, kept us afloat, refilling waters, smiling with that service industry serenity you grow where tips and chaos share custody. Every time she set something down, Friend A's eyes went to the exit again like a metronome. Friend B's phone stayed face down, but lit at suspiciously choreographed intervals. My date? She split her attention between laughter and Instagram stories, making sure the steak got a boomerang while it was still bleeding. Some scam shout, this one hummed. I know hums. Seattle trains you to hear the squeak in a wiper blade before it becomes a smear. The tells stacked up like coasters, the accidental friends, the quick order of prestige bottles, the way the friends didn't touch bread, rookie mistake. If you're gonna grift, carbo load. The tiny nod between Friend A and my date when the server said 1 check. I excused myself to wash my hands, which was true and also pretext. At the bar, I caught the bartender's eye, a guy with forearms like trustworthy beams and a Royals cap. Hey, I said, low voice, service industry register. I'm the rando on 14 with the pop-in friends. I'm paying my portion now, and tipping your server heavy. Heads up, they may try something. He didn't blink, just nodded once. Community beats con, always has. He pulled up the table, I pointed to what was mine, 1 entree, 1 seltzer, added a 35% tip for Emily because she was doing crisis management in lipstick, signed the slip, and said, "If they bounce, I'm sorry in advance, and may the forces of petty righteousness be with you." Back at the table, the vibe was still confetti. My date announced she had to run to the restroom real quick, but somehow took her clutch and coat. Friend A said, "Same." Friend B needed a smoke, pantomimed a vape like she was auditioning for a cloud. I sipped my seltzer and waited. Emily drifted by, read the air, and in a voice made of butter said, "How are we doing over here?" I smiled the we both know smile. She nodded the we indeed do nod. The three didn't return. Time passed in restaurant seconds, long and short at once. The host glanced at the door. The bartender took off his cap and ran a hand through. "Here we go, hair." A manager materialized with the pleasant face of a person who can talk down a raccoon. When the trio tried to slip for real, coats on, hair laughing, the manager intercepted with Midwest mercy. "Hi there," he said like this was a church foyer. "Looks like you forgot something." Friend A did the wide-eyed "Oh." Routine. Friend B patted an imaginary pocket. My date aimed her phone at a point slightly above responsibility. "Our friend paid," she said, thumb at me like a loaded elevator button. "Your friend paid his portion," the manager said, using my name because I'd left it on a receipt like a breadcrumb. "And he tipped Emily, who is a treasure." And then we all learned about a thing called consequence. After some theater, my bag, my Uber, my blood sugar. A dad was summoned by phone, then in person, mad, tired, maybe used to being both. He paid with a card that had seen things and glared at the trio in ways that suggested a family group chat would be lively later. They left in a froth of perfume and vexation. I slipped out before Act 3, walked into night air that smelled like fryer oil in December, and laughed to myself with the soft relief of dodging a play. Creepy isn't always a guy whispering. Sometimes it's a table trying to make you into an ATM. Predation, but make it parasitic. 2 days later, after my meetings, I wandered back in for a burger because closure loves protein. The bartender grinned as soon as he saw me. "You called it," he said, sliding me a water like a medal. Emily waved from behind a tray. I dropped off a 4-pack of cupcakes from a place I'd Googled, Seattle manners in a KC accent, told the manager thanks for backing his staff, and wrote community con on the tip line like a corny uncle. That night I met co-workers at a lower stakes bar, where the beer is democratic and the wings are harrowing. "How's Plaza dating?" someone asked, and I told the story with more jokes than judgment. "Image search first," said the woman from accounting, not wrong. "And meet in cheaper rooms," I added. The older I get, the more I trust diners and daylight. Back in my hotel, I texted the story to my Seattle group chat. Responses stacked like rain clouds. "You are a sitcom. Never change. Buy staff cupcakes forever." Out my window, the plaza lights flickered like a winter constellation you can't see from home. Different city, same rule. Be kind to the people who work late and see everything. And when your gut hums, listen. We're from Washington. We know what a good barometer feels like. He messaged like a comp offer. "Dinner at STK Thursday? 8:30. I'll handle it. If the vibe's right, we can do a cute lil BJ after face blowing a kiss." It was the kind of line that thinks it's wearing cologne. I stared at it long enough for the casino in my head to change dealers. Then I typed, counteroffer, "If dinner goes well, I'll write you a thank you note on a strap-on." He responded before my bubble finished breathing. "LOL what? I'm not into that." "That's the joke," I said. "Because you just offered me a thank you BJ like a Groupon." "Who said Groupon?" he shot back. "It's classy. I'm a gentleman." In my experience, the men who say, "I'm a gentleman," are either about to ask for something weird or hand you a napkin to cry into that turns out to be their broadcasted gym schedule. I scrolled his photos. Promoter smile, promoter biceps, promoter blazer, too tight across promoter shoulders. Wrist full of leftover club bands like merit badges. One shot in front of a skyline you can only love if you've never paid a power bill. The strip at Blue Hour, LEDs preening. "First dates are for vibes," I typed. "No coupons, no quid pro quo." "Totally," he texted. "No pressure at all. We see how it goes, and if it's good, cute BJ. Like a thank you. Not weird." The desert air in my apartment felt drier. "I mean it, no pressure," he added. "I'm not that guy." "Then stop being that guy," I said. "Thursday, 7 o'clock, somewhere where the music doesn't try to mate with our eardrums." "SDK is class," he insisted. "I'll put us on the list." "Diner," I said. "Booth. Lighting that won't make me feel like I'm inside a vape pen." He sent a skull emoji, then a compromise, a trendy steakhouse I could already hear in my bones. I gave in. Curiosity has a loyalty program too. I shared my location with 3 friends and stepped into a casino-scented evening where the air conditioning is always auditioning to be your boyfriend. The steakhouse foyer was refrigerated and glossy. A chandelier made of glass antlers threatened to fall and kill the right people. He was waiting, thumbs poised above the screen like hummingbirds. When he saw me, he did the promoter thing, arms out, grin wide, then a half hug that said, "I want a photo with you for my story." "Hey," he said. His voice had that fast, slick lilt of a man who spends his nights introducing DJs like rare wines. "You look amazing. You ready? We're VIP'd. Do I need a wristband to sit?" I asked. He laughed. "You're funny. I like that." At the table, he angled the reservation under the glow like it was a ring. The host said his name with the special reverence you get when you've comped enough bachelorettes to earn a parking space in hell. He pulled out my chair and then narrated the menu as if he had invented steak. "I do this for work," he said. "Openings, showcases, the whole thing. I know how to make a night." "Congrats," I said. "I know how to make rice." We ordered. He got a martini. I stuck to soda because my nervous system prefers not to get jump scared by men who say cute lil BJ. Between sips, he checked his phone with the practiced flick of a man whose thumb has a speedboat license. "Just lock in something for later," he said. "So, if everything goes well." "Please don't finish that sentence," I said. He smiled like a slot machine landing on almost. "Listen, I'm not transactional. I'm traditional. I pay, you show appreciation. Do you have a chart for that?" I asked. He blinked. "What?" "An intimacy gratuity chart. Apps equals peck. Entree equals BJ. Dessert equals, I don't know, a Yelp review?" His face did a tiny error spin. He reached for his phone like it could save him from himself, opened notes to maybe prove me wrong, and tilted just enough for the screen to reflect in the water glass. A heading, date flow tiered. Bullets. Vibe plus comp dinner equals soft kiss. Add bottle equals cute BJ if she's down. Sweet after equals everything. I put down my fork. "You literally have bottle service tiers for intimacy." "It's not like that," he said, throat shiny. "It's just a framework." "Frameworks are for decks," I said, "not bodies." He tried to pivot into charm, the way a croupier palms a card. "You're hilarious. You flipped it on me with that strap-on line. But I'm not gay, so." "Okay," I said. "A few things. 1, a strap-on doesn't make you gay. 2, I wasn't offering to peg you. I was mocking your thank you BJ punch card. 3, this is the opposite of not pressuring." He held up both hands. "No pressure," he said, as if the words were a magic spell that canceled the last 5 minutes. "We can just see. We could also just eat and not negotiate my mouth," I said. The server arrived with steaks that looked like they'd been raised with Spotify Premium. He cut his like it owed him a backstory. I pushed asparagus around until it formed a compelling argument for leaving. He tried again, softer. "It's Vegas. Everyone's a little flirty, a little wild, a little." "On a spreadsheet?" I said. He sighed, a sound that would have been a groan if his core were stronger. "You're making this weird." "You made this weird," I said. "I try to make it funny." "We asked for the check." He snatched it. "At least let me do this," he said, wounded chivalry on clearance. "Sure," I said. "I'll Venmo the tip." He shuddered like I'd suggested we split a funeral. "I got it," he said, scribbling his name as if it were a brand partnership. We stood in the foyer, where the bass seeped through the wall like a persistent thought. The hostess laughed politely at something distant. My phone buzzed. "My friend, 2 words, our code. You good?" I typed back, "Oxygen." "So," he said, hands in pockets, rocking on heels. "After party?" "My place is right off Flamingo. LED setup's insane. We can set the mood to magenta." "I bet you can," I said. "But I'm gonna pass." He looked genuinely confused, like a magician whose dove refused to appear. "So not down?" "I'm not a coupon," I said. "And consent is not a loyalty program." He tried one last pivot, the pout. "I'm a good guy," he said, softer now, boyish under the gel. "I just want a little appreciation." "Then appreciate me saying no," I said. "It's free." He laughed, a short, embarrassed puff. "You're brutal." The first picture on her Tinder profile wasn't a face. It was a calf, posed like a museum exhibit, roses, scrollwork, and a staircase of serial killer mugshots climbing from ankle to knee. Dahmer smirked between petals. Bundy had a halo of leaves. Caption: shading on Dahmer is fire fire dot. I blinked, half expecting the next photo to be a golden retriever to balance the universe. Nope. Photo 2. Her leg again, propped on a bar stool on West 25th, like Cleveland landmarks include the Terminal Tower, the Guardians of Traffic, and apparently her murder bouquet. Bio: true crime babe. If you're squeamish, bless your heart. Curiosity is my worst wingman. I messaged, there's a lot of history on your shin. She replied with rust belt snap. What? It's art, hun. My dad's a tattooer. Grew up in shops. I know my artists, I know my subjects. Weak men get woozy. You woozy? A little, I wrote. I like art. I'm less into shrines. Laughing emoji. Relax. I'm not lighting candles. It's culture. Also, we'd make a killer couple winking face dot. We meet in Ohio City, corner table, lake air tasting like spare change. She's gorgeous in that precise, Cleveland on a Friday way. Winged eyeliner, hoops, jacket that sounds expensive when she sits. She angles herself, so the collage faces the room. Double takes roll in like lake waves. She enjoys the tide. You're staring, she says, pleased. It's hard not to, I admit. It's detailed. She taps each face like she's reading captions in a gallery. Bundy. Dahmer. Ramirez. Gacy. Kept the clown minimal, tacky otherwise. Eileen, because feminism, hun. Little H.H. Holmes by the ankle, Cleveland wink. Holmes was Chicago. I blurt, then hate myself immediately. She grins. And Cleveland had the torso killer. I left space right here. She points to an empty oval framed in roses, for when they finally name him. The server drops coffees. Her ringtone pops off, the minor keys sting from a true crime theme. She silences it without looking, eyes steady on me like this is cross-examination. I'm not squeamish, I say, choosing each word like stepping stones. I'm unsettled. They're lines, she says. Men get skull sleeves all day and nobody clutches pearls. At least mine's honest. She leans in, conspiratorial. Party trick? I've memorized victim counts. Then she rattles off numbers with Buckeye game cadence like stats. The underrated ones are fascinating. Fascinating for who? I ask, quieter than I mean to. For me, she says. Darkness lives here, she taps her temple, and facing it is power. Also, I walk alone at night and guys clock this, she angles the leg, and think twice. I picture her crossing a parking lot, mugshots watching the asphalt. I also picture those same faces staring up from under a dinner table, while someone's grandma passes pierogies. My stomach does a small elevator drop. Your dad really did your first tattoo? I ask, seeking softer ground. 16, she says. Little rose for my grandma. God rest her. Ink's the only thing that sticks when everything else rusts. There's a sheen of sincerity there, like rain on a porch swing. Then the current pulls us back. I've got a session next month, she says, bright again. Empty eye sockets around the ankle. Leaves room to color in if new ones pop off. She sips, watching my face like pay-per-view. I set my cup down. I think I'm out. I say, calm as I can make it. She snorts. With coffee? Or with me? With this, I say, gesturing at the whole curated storm. Her leg, the ringtone, the memorized numbers. It's a lot for date one. Men can't handle a strong woman, she says, like she's stamping rejected. Strong women don't need to carry men who hurt women. I say, and immediately wish I'd chosen kind over clever. I didn't come to litigate. I came to see if I could sit across from the collage and still feel like a person. For a second, something in her eyes flickers, hurt, maybe, or heat. Then the door shuts. Check, she calls, startling the biscotti. I pay before the server has to trieve. Outside, Lake Erie shifts from tin to steel. She tugs her hem down, then up again, indecisive, and at the door throws one last smile over her shoulder. It feels pretty personal when you're threatening immediate termination of my existence, I countered. It's policy, she corrected instantly. Policy is what airlines hide behind when they lose your luggage. I shot back, feeling a surprising surge of adrenaline. I'm not a suitcase you can lose track of. She sighed, a sound that implied I had failed a question no one told me would be on the exam. My ex, she said, her eyes distant, staring past me to some painful memory filed under inefficient use of time, went 2 days without texting and said he was off the grid at a sound bath. In Bushwick. I winced, genuinely. That's still a grid. That's just a sonic grid. Exactly, she confirmed, finally sounding validated. So now I optimize. I minimize variables. The word *optimize* made me think of spreadsheets, funnels, sales pipelines. Dating as KPI management. Somewhere in Williamsburg, I pictured a customer relationship management system weeping softly into its server rack. Tell me something not optimized, I challenged, leaning forward now, feeling the need to inject some chaos before she finalized my termination notice. A messy story, a bad haircut, a time you cried on the Q train because the signal dropped. She hesitated. It was a genuine pause, a flicker of resistance against the machine. It was like reaching past a locked drawer and finding it wasn't empty. Then, I once tried to make sourdough and grew a petri dish. It smelled like a gym sock left in August heat. She shuddered, the motion almost imperceptible. I cried, because the smell lingered. I laughed. It was a real laugh, rusty but functional. The room brightened a fraction. Humanity. She almost smiled back, a genuine upward curve, then remembered her schedule and snapped her attention back to her phone. You didn't text for 7 minutes last night, she stated, her voice back to its neutral, procedural tone. I was washing dishes, I explained. The soap made my hands too slippery to text effectively. You didn't warn me. I didn't know washing dishes requires a heads-up notification. In a relationship, silence is data, she said, her focus absolute. I don't ignore data. I pictured her apartment. Whiteboard calendar, habit tracker, a shelf of perfectly uniform candles burned to identical heights. A corkboard dense with pastel post-its. Replaced. I wondered how often she replaced people before they had a chance to be anyone but hypothetical risks. Zara, I said gently, trying to appeal to the person who grew the gym sock starter. I get that you've met men who treat you like a placeholder. I respect that you're protecting yourself. But if you start every connection with "prove you're not garbage," you'll mostly just confirm that people are heavy when you carry them like trash. She blinked. The pen paused midair. A muscle in her jaw flexed, a tiny, almost invisible twitch, then relaxed. The armor seemed to shift, just slightly. I'm tired, she said, the softness returning, deeper this time. I'm tired of being the only one who knows what day it is. That's real, I agreed immediately. That's the actual problem. But replacement isn't a boundary. It's a threat. It's preemptive self-defense, and it doesn't leave room for anyone else to be real, either. The timer in her spine went off, evidently. She sat straighter, the posture snapping back into place. Here's what we'll do, she said, returning firmly to policy. Second date, Thursday, 7 p.m., wine bar on Bedford. If you're not there by 6:57, I'll replace you. Or, I offered, pushing back one last time, we can both show up at 7:05 like actual, functioning New Yorkers who occasionally get stuck behind a slow-moving tourist, and we can call it even. She didn't smile. She didn't even consider it. 6:57. I messaged anyway because my curiosity is a moth and my thumbs are an aggressively lit porch light. It felt like a high-stakes application process, so I played the game. Do you issue a receipt when you replace me, or is it store credit? My heart rate probably spiked the local Wi-Fi signal. She replied in 30 seconds flat. No buffering, no ellipsis, just pure, immediate commitment to the bit. LOL. Coffee tomorrow. 3 p.m. If you're late, I'll replace you. Brooklyn romance. Brisk, practical, vaguely threatening. It's less about finding a soulmate and more about securing a reliable co-signer for the next lease renewal. We met at a cafe in Greenpoint where the baristas wear vintage band tees like they're displaying PhD diplomas. The air smelled like burnt sugar and existential dread. Zara arrived early, of course she did, already stationed at a corner table. She had a tiny leather-bound notebook open, the kind that looks like it cost more than my rent deposit, and a pen that looked expensive enough to sign treaties or execute contracts. Her hair was yanked into a tight bun, the geometry of which implied serious discipline, and her eyeliner was winged sharp enough to open packages or perhaps pierce vital organs. She didn't stand when I approached, she measured. She took inventory. You're on time, she announced, glancing at her phone like a bailiff verifying a warrant. Not replaced. Yet. Phew. I managed, trying to sound breezy instead of like I'd sprinted the last block. I was worried you'd already drafted someone from the bench. Maybe a utility player? She cracked half a smile, the kind you rent by the minute and have to return promptly. I'm Zara, she said, and I swear I heard a timestamp clicking into place the moment she said her name. We ordered a black coffee for her, something needlessly complicated for me because why make things easy? And I came back to find she'd meticulously drawn a little grid in her notebook. Headings were spread across the top like surveillance zones. Communication, initiative, punctuality, affection, plans. I took a seat opposite a living, breathing rubric. I felt like I was being audited by the IRS, but for my emotional capacity. Is this the test? I asked, gesturing at the ledger. My internal monologue was screaming. Asterisk abort. Abort. This is not dating. This is performance review. Asterisk. This is accountability, she corrected, tapping the paper with the treaty pen. The last man I dated thought, we'll see is a plan. I live in New York. I don't we'll see. I schedule the seeing. Fair, I conceded, trying to inject some charm into the interrogation. I put things on Google Calendar that are just naps, just so I don't forget to rest. Cute, she said, noncommittal. The word hung there, completely uninvested. Question. If I text you, how long until you reply? This was the first real landmine. Depends, I said carefully. If I'm in a meeting later. If I'm on the subway later, because signal drops. If I'm free, quickly but not in a way that scares the cat, you know? Not immediately, that's desperate. She wrote, response, situational watch. She didn't even look up. It was a data entry. Follow up, she continued, without preamble. What are your plans for the next 2 weekends? Friends show, grocery store, the good one, not the sad one, maybe a movie, depending on my energy levels. You. Hair, nails, work event, mother's birthday, she rattled off like bullets from a highly efficient sidearm. Also, for the record, I prefer men who can see me daily. I nearly choked on my lukewarm drip coffee. Daily? Like, everyday daily? That's a full-time job with mandatory overtime. She nodded, her expression granite. If we're building something, I need consistency. Hours, not vibes. Vibes are what you use to describe poorly mixed cement. I looked around at the other tables, at the couples typing furiously on laptops side by side, doing the New York thing where everyone is supposedly busy, and yet somehow perpetually available for adjacent activity. I can't promise every day, I admitted. I can promise intentional days. Days where the focus is clearly you. She tapped her pen against the grid, the sound echoing in my skull. Intentional is how men say intermittent. It's the polite word for ghosting yourself before I have to do it. The drinks arrived. She stirred hers with decisive, tiny metallic clinks. I took a breath, trying to pivot away from the policy manual and toward actual human interaction. I tried small talk, job, neighborhood, favorite bodega sandwich. She handled each query like a cross-examination, efficient, correct, utterly devoid of warmth. She was a perfectly constructed algorithm, and I was the input data trying to bypass the firewall. Look, she said, leaning in, her voice softening just enough to pass the Turing test for human connection. I don't have time to babysit a man's uncertainty. If you want this, show up, on time, prepared with data. If you don't, say that and I'll replace you. It's not personal. It feels pretty personal when you're threatening immediate termination of my existence, I countered. It's policy, she corrected instantly. Policy is what airlines hide behind when they lose your luggage. I shot back, feeling a surprising surge of adrenaline. I'm not a suitcase you can lose track of. She sighed, a sound that implied I had failed a question no one told me would be on the exam. My ex, she said, her eyes distant, staring past me to some painful memory filed under inefficient use of time, went 2 days without texting and said he was off the grid at a sound bath. In Bushwick. I winced, genuinely. That's still a grid. That's just a sonic grid. Exactly, she confirmed, finally sounding validated. So now I optimize. I minimize variables. The word, *optimize*, made me think of spreadsheets, funnels, sales pipelines. Dating as KPI management. Somewhere in Williamsburg, I pictured a customer relationship management system weeping softly into its server rack. Tell me something not optimized, I challenged, leaning forward now, feeling the need to inject some chaos before she finalized my termination notice. A messy story. A bad haircut. A time you cried on the Q train because the signal dropped. She hesitated. It was a genuine pause, a flicker of resistance against the machine. It was like reaching past a locked drawer and finding it wasn't empty. Then, I once tried to make sourdough and grew a petri dish. It smelled like a gym sock left in August heat. She shuddered, the motion almost imperceptible. I cried, because the smell lingered. I laughed. It was a real laugh, rusty but functional. The room brightened a fraction. Humanity. She almost smiled back, a genuine upward curve, then remembered her schedule and snapped her attention back to her phone. You didn't text for 7 minutes last night, she stated, her voice back to its neutral, procedural tone. I was washing dishes, I explained. The soap made my hands too slippery to text effectively. You didn't warn me. I didn't know washing dishes requires a heads-up notification. In a relationship, silence is data, she said, her focus absolute. I don't ignore data. I pictured her apartment. Whiteboard calendar, habit tracker, a shelf of perfectly uniform candles burned to identical heights. A corkboard dense with pastel post-its. Replaced. I wondered how often she replaced people before they had a chance to be anyone but hypothetical risks. Zara, I said gently, trying to appeal to the person who grew the gym sock starter. I get that you've met men who treat you like a placeholder. I respect that you're protecting yourself. But if you start every connection with prove you're not garbage, you'll mostly just confirm that people are heavy when you carry them like trash. She blinked. The pen paused midair. A muscle in her jaw flexed, a tiny, almost invisible twitch, then relaxed. The armor seemed to shift, just slightly. I'm tired, she said, the softness returning, deeper this time. I'm tired of being the only one who knows what day it is. That's real, I agreed immediately. That's the actual problem. But replacement isn't a boundary. It's a threat. It's preemptive self-defense, and it doesn't leave room for anyone else to be real, either. The timer in her spine went off, evidently. She sat straighter, the posture snapping back into place. Here's what we'll do, she said, returning firmly to policy. Second date, Thursday, 7 p.m., wine bar on Bedford. If you're not there by 6:57, I'll replace you. Or, I offered, pushing back one last time, we can both show up at 7:05 like actual, functioning New Yorkers who occasionally get stuck behind a slow-moving tourist, and we can call it even. She didn't smile. She didn't even consider it. 6:57. His Tinder advert read like a dare and a dermatology ad. One part stuck out that shocked me. You will call me daddy. Not because you have to, but because you just can't, but not. Master of female anatomy. Pleasure architect. Career, butthole fiddler. I blinked hard at that last one, as if my phone had developed a typo. The Miami sun bounced off my window and spotlighted the word like the universe wanted me to read it twice. I should have swiped left. Instead, curiosity pushed my thumb like a stagehand. Your career is what? I messaged. He replied so fast the chat bubbles felt preloaded. Daddy works with finesse, smiling face with horns. Not a joke. Miami knows me. Miami knows many men. I didn't need to meet another. But I also didn't need to pay $9 for a curiosity I could satisfy with one cafecito. I proposed a public place, daytime, crowded, loud with harmless clatter. He wanted night, a lounge in Brickell with velvet ropes and women who hover. I held my ground. We compromised, a cafe in Wynwood at 4, where the coffee is strong and the murals don't judge. He arrived smelling like cologne and cold air conditioning. In person, he was handsome in the way a mannequin is. Everything set to default handsome, without the soul toggled on. The blue tint from his photos was gone. The LED strip in his apartment had probably been doing the heavy lifting. Angel, he said, not my name. Daddy's pleased. Hi, I said, choosing to ignore the third-person introduction the way you ignore a stranger humming too close to your ear. He wore a short-sleeve button-up with paisley that glared. Sunglasses perched on his head though we were indoors. A gold chain rested on his collarbone like a warning label. When he hugged, he made a soft hissing sound, appreciation or a tire leak. We ordered. He asked for a cortadito, straight sugar. I asked for an iced latte, half sweet. The barista nodded like she'd seen everything, because she probably had. So, I began. The resume. He smiled slow. Daddy's multi-hyphenate, he said. Private events. Instruction. Consultation. Women come to Daddy when they want to wake up parts of themselves they didn't know existed. Do they come to you for grammar too? I asked. Because the third person is a lot. He laughed like a nightclub light, strobing, hard to stand under. The third person is branding, baby. You spend enough time at LIV and Soho and Story, you learn. No one remembers a name, they remember a vibe. I sipped my drink. Your vibe says you've memorized lines from a forum and stitched them together with protein powder. Daddy studies, he said, not offended. You study if you want to master something. You practice. You test. You optimize. He said optimize like he was selling me a CRM. I couldn't decide if the horror was the rebrand of intimacy as workflow or the way it almost worked. You wrote career, butthole fiddler, I said. As a hook. As a truth, he countered. I'm not hiding. I'm not apologizing. I am presenting excellence. Excellence in? Pleasure, he said, then lowered his voice in a way that made the string lights above us seem complicit. And control. The word dusted the table like flour. My stomach tightened, not in fear yet, but premonition. Miami humidity crept between us. A girl in a bubblegum bodysuit skated by on quads. He watched her like she was a screensaver. I followed his gaze and returned to his face to find him already looking back, practiced at getting caught. Here's my issue, I said. Your page reads like a parody of a person. It's like if a bottle service receipt grew thumbs. He leaned forward, elbows glittering with sweat. What if Daddy is both, he said. Parody and person. Performance is part of pleasure. Women want a show. They want a man who knows. I want a man who listens, I said. Daddy listens, he said, grinning. Daddy reads bodies like Braille. I blinked. Did you just compare yourself to accessibility tech? Metaphor, he said, smug. The barista dropped off pastelitos we hadn't ordered. He pointed, then at his chest, like he had manifested them. He broke one and pushed half toward me, a courtly gesture ungummed by the word, Daddy, only barely. Let me guess, I said. You also speak in quotes. Let Daddy take care of you. You don't even know what you need. Relax into my mastery. He tilted his head, impressed and annoyed. Someone hurt you, he said, soft now, trying the therapy angle. Daddy can fix that. Someone wrote that line for you, I said. He spread his hands. Does it matter who wrote the map if you get to the beach? It matters if the map leads to your condo, I said. Where you have LED lights set to magenta and towels rolled like a hotel and a notes app called Daddy Script V4. He went very still. It lasted half a second, but it was enough. A thin sheet of pride slid over his face, then cracked. He recovered by doubling down. You're funny, he said. Daddy likes funny. Daddy also likes obedience. Ah, I said. There it is. He leaned closer until I could smell the mint he'd preloaded for the moment. Say it, he murmured. No, I said and smiled. Here's a different word, boundaries. He sat back like I'd shoved him. The smile stayed, but his eyes cooled. You think you're different, he said. You've all got the same script too. Boundaries. Consent. Red flags. But you come. You always come. I came for coffee, I said. Not for enrollment. He drummed his fingers. I caught a glimpse of his phone wallpaper when it lit up, a photo of him kissing his own reflection in a mirror. I choked on my latte a little, and he mistook it for swoon. I teach workshops, he said. Sold out. You should come. Bring a friend. Daddy will demonstrate. What, like a TED Talk with thrusting? I asked. Everything worth doing is worth doing with a mic, he said. I laughed. I couldn't help it. He misfiled the sound as victory. There she is, he said. See? Daddy knows how to open you. You open my sense of the absurd, I said. Which is not nothing. He glanced around to see who might be watching him hold court. 2 girls at the next table were recording a TikTok. His body rotated a few degrees so his jawline made the cut. What's your real name? I asked. Daddy, he said automatically, then sighed. Marco. Marco, I repeated. I'm leaving. Now. He checked the time like there was an agenda item we hadn't reached. Entitlement for 22 p.m. Now, I said. Because you're a performance with a person stapled to it, and I don't want to watch you confuse control with care. He smiled again, brittle with disbelief. You'll text, he said. They always text. It's Miami. You'll get bored. You'll want Daddy. I want air conditioning that doesn't talk, I said. I stood. He didn't block me, small mercies. He did say be a good girl. To my back, like a prayer thrown at a door. I turned. Okay, folks, I need to vent this entire interaction before I delete my Tinder dating profile forever. I matched with someone who seemed vibrant. Too vibrant, I reckon. Her opening message felt like a full-spectrum sensory assault, designed specifically to bypass my critical thinking circuits. Would you ever consider dating a non-sober person? Like I hardly drink, don't really do wine, smoke a little weed, also I smoke meth. Not spooky though. Herb sparkles anyway. What's on your list this week? Want a rollerblade? What houseplants you keep? I swear I physically recoiled. I must have reread that message 5 times, the way you reread a recipe that inexplicably calls for gasoline mixed with artisanal sea salt. The sentence structure was a masterpiece of obfuscation. It glided so smoothly from not much wine right into I smoke meth, and then, without drawing a breath, it veered into rollerblades and requests for potholes cuttings, like the meth was just a slightly more intense comma, not a sheer, unadorned cliff face. My brain immediately went into system diagnostic mode. My first, painfully slow response, define non-sober. I was stalling, buying time while my palms sweated onto my phone screen. I felt like I was being tested for competence in a highly specialized, extremely dangerous field. She replied instantly with a voice note. That signature Portland cadence, that airy, slightly too bright tone, like rain was softening the edges of her words into something acceptable. I'm very wellness forward, she chirped. Booze is a depressant, obviously. Weed's chill, good for winding down. Meth is my lil focus friend. But I'm not spooky. Promise. I'm actually super into community gardens. Also, do you have a Monstera? We could trade cuttings. Smiley face. I stared at that smiling emoji, then down at my jade plant, which was sitting on my desk, looking suddenly like a very innocent, deeply stressed bystander to my impending doom. I tried to anchor the date in reality, in daylight. First dates are coffee. I typed back, hoping the word coffee acted as a disinfectant. Public, bright, alive with witnesses. Rollerblades second date, if we still have kneecaps. She sent a dozen sparkles and the name of a planty cafe off Alberta. You know the type. Reclaimed wood everywhere, baristas wearing beanies like their accidental artisanal halos. I immediately shared my location with 2 friends, safety protocol engaged, and walked there under a consistent Portland drizzle that felt less like weather and more like the city's actual, damp ethos. She was already there, perched on a high stool like a brightly colored bird. Her rain jacket was the exact color of a highlighter pen, and her cheeks were pink with the kind of aggressive, glowing health you usually only see airbrushed onto kombucha bottles. She waved so earnestly, so openly, that for a split second, my built-in skepticism actually slipped a notch. Hi, she chirped. You're real. Allegedly, I managed, sliding onto the stool next to her. Her tote bag was a mission statement, support your local mushrooms. Inside, I could see the evidence, a rolled-up pair of quads with glitter wheels, and a mason jar containing 2 pothose cuttings floating like lazy, submerged snakes. On the counter sat a bullet journal, open to a page titled Q1 Habits, with tiny boxes checked off in meticulous rainbow ink. It looked less like a planner and more like a behavioral contract she'd signed with herself. She slid an oat latte she'd already ordered toward me, bold move, ordering for a near stranger who might be a federal agent, and then pushed a cutting toward me. For you, she said. Propagation is healing. I took the stem gingerly. Thanks, I murmured to the plant. Welcome to hardship. We did the small talk dance for about 10 minutes. Her name was Bree. She worked at a co-working space curating community, which I quickly translated, meant she probably took the sign-in iPad very seriously and occasionally organized awkward icebreakers. She loved zines, seed swaps, and moving my body joyfully, which apparently included rollerblading on the East Bank after sunset. She said joyfully, the way some people say religiously, with an almost frightening conviction. Then, like a squirrel suddenly remembering where it buried its prize nut, she dropped it again, casual as asking the time. I do smoke meth. Bright smile, checkmark voice. Like, not before bed, I'm not unhinged. It's microdosing macroish. Productivity vibes. Productivity vibes, I repeated, tasting the words. They felt chalky, like eating drywall dust. I was trying to process how one vibes their way to inbox 0 while mainlining stimulants. She twirled a strand of her very healthy-looking hair and leaned in conspiratorially. It's honestly safer than booze, you know? I used to drink 3 IPAs nightly and get into cars with men named Kyle. This version of me color codes her calendar and hydrates. I glanced involuntarily at the bullet journal. Hydrate had a column of perfect, unbroken blue squares. It was unnerving. Do your friends know about the focus friend? I asked. My real ones, she corrected, pausing just long enough to make me feel judged for asking. My mom thinks I'm just very punctual now. And you rollerblade on meth? The question sounded ridiculous coming out of my mouth, but I had to know the limits of this lifestyle. She laughed, a genuine sharp sound. No, I'm not trying to chip my teeth on purpose. That's for deep work. Inbox 0. Marie Kondo, but for my neurons. The barista, bless his oblivious soul, set down 2 vegan muffins. Brie broke one with meticulous, careful fingers, offering me half like a piece of communion bread. I considered saying something equidistant between honest terror and polite dismissal. Instead, I heard myself ask, "How often is focus friend time?" She considered the question seriously, tilting her head. "Couple times a week? Sometimes more. Sometimes less. Depends on my flow." Her jaw ticked once, very subtly, then stilled. She noticed me noticing, that hyper-awareness you get when you're dating someone who measures time and stimulant cycles, and softened her face immediately, like a yoga teacher correcting a student's alignment. "You okay?" she asked, tender in a way that actually made me ache a little, because it felt so genuine, yet so detached from the reality she'd just laid out. "I'm fine," I lied. "I just don't think I'm a good hang for someone whose routine includes a schedule I can't possibly keep up with." She nodded, that same serene acceptance she used for the plan identification. "Totally valid," she said. "But also, stigma is real, you know? Folks drink 3 IPAs nightly and call it culture." "People can be wrong in multiple directions," I countered, feeling suddenly weary. "I'm not a cop monitoring your intake. I'm also not looking to become a muse for your next productivity surge." She laughed again, genuine this time, and took a sip of something aggressively green. We tried to reroute into safer lanes, books, the rain, the tiny dog in a sweater walking past the window, until the conversation inevitably found the edge again. She told me about a friend who lost housing and, even more delicately, a jawline. She said it delicately, like you hide a bruise with a scarf. She stressed that she was different because she had asterisk systems. I looked around the table at her systems, the journal's tidy grids, the mason jar cuttings, the rollerblades strapped neatly together, the way she smoothed the table with her palm before setting her cup down. Her profile read like the terms and conditions screen nobody reads, but everyone agrees to keep using the app. Headshot in warm Malibu light, lips the color of pomegranate seeds, and the caption, "Deal breakers non-negotiable." Then the scroll began. No men under 5 feet 11 inches, 180 centimeters. No one who's lived with parents in the last 5 years. I will ask for proof. No roommates. Must have passport stamps and take 2+ international vacations per year. No MMA, boxing, or anime. Clean home, spotless car. Work 30+ hours/week and plan to retire by 65. Never cheated, no kids, no cats, love Mexican food, not awkward in person. There were always more, but the app truncated with "see all." I hid it because curiosity is the worst kind of cardio. The list kept going. Financial stability, therapy attendance if needed, gym 3 times a week, alpha masculinity without the podcast, and a note that she prefers men who invest wisely, index funds okay, crypto not. It ended with a smiley face that felt like a period with lip gloss. I should have swiped left. Instead I messaged, "Do we sign in blue ink or DocuSign?" She replied, "LOL. Coffee? I'll audit in person." Face blowing a kiss. Audit. The cutest threat. We met in Brentwood at a cafe where the plants looked better moisturized than most people. She was on time, seated, and already had a small legal pad next to her iced matcha. Pink pen. Neat handwriting. The vibe was Valley Girl meets litigator. She stood, hugged with the barest shoulder tap, stepped back to assess. "You're taller than your photos," she said. "Good start." "Thanks," I said. I wore my court heels. She smiled without committing to it. "I'm L. Like the magazine, not the movie, though full disclosure, I did law school for a semester." "Why'd you leave?" "Decided to litigate my own life instead," she said and sat. The barista called my name. When I returned with a coffee, she'd already drawn a little checkbox next to a line on her pad. Height heavy check mark. "So," she said, pink pen poised, "I'll start with basics. You live alone?" "I have a roommate," I said, then foolishly honest. "Technically 2. A guy and his aging bulldog." Her pen hovered. "Bulldog is cute. Roommates are not." "Why?" "Rent," I said. "Community. Also the bulldog snores like a vintage motorcycle, and it's soothing." She wrote, "Roommates heavy multiplication X, dog face acceptable." "Lived with your parents within the last 5 years?" "Yes," I said. "During the lockdown. My dad tore his Achilles. Mom needed help with the grocery circus. I moved in for 3 months." 3 months? She tilted her head. Malibu light lived in her hair, even inside. "That's technically within my 5-year window." I do make exceptions for caretaking. She wrote, parents, caretaking, heavy check mark, verify dates. Verify how? I said. Gas receipts maybe, she said, breezy like she wasn't asking for exhibits. Anyway, travel. Passport stamps. Canada, Spain, Mexico, I said. And Milwaukee for my cousin's wedding, which should count for at least 2. She laughed finally. 2 vacations a year minimum. What's the itinerary for this year? Palm Springs? And I have a friend getting married in Oaxaca, so hopefully that. Oaxaca gives you spice points, she said. Palm Springs does not. She wrote, travel adequate. Do you rate people on first dates? I asked. Everybody rates people on first dates, she said, not unkind. I just commit it to paper. Saves time. The barista slid a plate of almond biscotti onto our table like a prop. I stared at the notepad. The pen. Her eyes, sharp as a hinge. She wasn't mean. She was efficient. Like a woman who had tired of charm and decided structure would do. No MMA, no boxing, no anime, she added. I don't like violence or cartoons about violence. I watch cooking shows about butter, I said. Eye contact? She said, ignoring that, which was probably good for my cholesterol. You seem fine. I try, I said. She checked. Not awkward heavy check mark. Then work? Freelance copywriter, I said. Brand stuff. Websites. Occasionally I name things. That's not 30+ hours per week guaranteed, she said. It is, I said. Sometimes it's 50. Retirement plan? Index funds, I said, because that's what the internet told me. And a mild fear of dying at my desk. Fear is a motivator, she said, approving. Crypto? Once, I said. In 2021. We don't talk about 2021. She smiled tiny. Fine. The pad was filling up with my life in bullet points, like she was a stenographer for the relationship I hadn't entered yet. It should have made me bolt. Instead, it made me curious. What happens when someone believes love is a compliance department? Why the list? I asked. Like, specifically. She sipped matcha. I dated chaos for 3 years, she said. A guy who said he was 6 feet and was not, metaphorically and literally. He watched MMA and had a cat that hated me and lived with roommates who were his mother and stepfather. He traveled to Temecula and called it international because of the wine. He retired at 32 to become an NFT shaman. I found a spreadsheet labeled girls, and I was cell D7. Oof, I said. She made the therapist's half shrug. So now I filter. Saves everyone time. Time isn't the only thing that matters, I said. Time is the only thing that matters, she countered, but softly, like she was trying to convince herself too. Also, do you like Mexican food? I think al pastor tacos could stop wars. Good. People who say they don't like Mexican food lack imagination or taste buds, or are liars. She checked a big box, tacos heavy check mark. We ate biscotti. The sun made a slow move down the wall. She studied me the way an app studies you, silently, constantly, and with a goal. You seem nice, she said, which in LA can be both compliment and obituary. But I need to see if you're consistent. Anyone can be pleasant for 90 minutes. True, I said. That's why movies end there. She nodded, pleased. Okay. Next step is a dinner where I see how you treat service, how you tip, if you're punctual, if your car is clean, if your home is clean, if your toothbrush looks like it's seen water this week. Wait, I said. Are you coming to my home to inspect my toothbrush? If this goes well, she said, making another note, yes. You'd be surprised how often men's bathrooms look like an active crime scene. I thought of our shared apartment bathroom, the bulldog hair drifts, the soap turning into a thin, desperate coin. My honesty was a liability, and my honesty wouldn't shut up. It's not showroom ready, I said, but it's lived in by humans. She drew a small, neutral circle. We can work with potential. I'm not an investment, I said, then gentled it. Or at least, I don't want to feel like one. Her pen stopped. She looked up, fully, for the first time. The courtroom lights in her eyes cooled a notch. I know, she said. I know how it looks. I know the list is scary. But I spent so long auditioning for men who hadn't even learned their lines. I thought maybe if I audition them, maybe then I'll get to be the one who relaxes. Does it work? I asked. Sometimes, she said. Mostly it keeps me from wasting a month. I've wasted a lot of months. I've wasted years. We were quiet. Outside, a woman walked a golden doodle with a blowout. Inside, a barista misted the leaves of a rubber plant like it was a celebrity in hair and makeup. I pictured her apartment, neutral palette, scented candles, a white couch she never sits on because white couches are not for sitting. A corkboard of the future with colored string and post-its. Vacation 1, Vacation 2, Retirement, Husband, TBD. What scares you? I asked. She capped the pen. Being 45 and realizing I spent my 30s soothing boys who wanted mothers. Waking up next to someone who doesn't know what a passport is. Paying half a mortgage for a man who calls anime cinema. And what if you miss someone good because they have a cat? I asked. Her mouth slanted. Then I hope their cat is nice to them. She looked at her notepad, then tore off the top sheet and folded it into precise quarters. She pinned it under her matcha like a butterfly. Okay, she said. Here's a radical thought. Let's go for a walk with no questions. 20 minutes. We can talk about nothing. TV shows. Clouds. I won't mark anything down. Clouds are very suspicious, I said. I'll pretend not to notice, she said, and for the first time, the smile reached the part of her that wasn't a checklist. We walked down San Vicente under the coral trees, past Pilates studios and stores that sold linen in the shape of dresses. We talked about a show we both pretended not to binge. She told me she once cried in a Trevi Fountain knockoff at the Grove because a Christmas song ambushed her on a Tuesday. I told her I name products for a living and once convinced a yogurt brand to call a flavor almost lemon because the batch ran tart. We didn't mention height or retirement. We didn't audit. We laughed at a bulldog whose tongue forgot to go inside. The light went soft and careless. Back at the cafe, she picked up the folded paper and slid it into her bag without looking. Second date, she said, testing the words like a new shade of lipstick. No forms. You pick the taco spot. If you're late, I leave. If you're on time, I stay. Deal, I said. She extended her hand. It was warm, not a contract, just skin to skin. On the way to my car, I thought about how rules can be armor and also a cage. How people make lists when they've been lost, how order looks like safety until it isn't. In my rearview, Brentwood shone like a brochure. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. Clouds checked out, the text said. See you Friday. Don't make me write you up. Winking face. I texted back a taco emoji and a cloud. Somewhere a pink pen rested. Somewhere a list briefly slept. I matched with him because of the dog. A brindled mutt sat in the front seat of a dusty F-150, tongue out, eyes like melted caramels. The caption under the photo said, "My boy." "Dinner Thursday?" he wrote. "Then maybe come over if everything goes well. My boy would be happy to see you." I assumed the dog. I wanted to assume the dog. "Can't Thursday," I typed. "Client meeting, then volleyball. Friday or Sunday work. Also, who's your boy?" "Dogface, I've got one too. Friday works. My boy equals my hog." Crying face, eggplant, sweat droplets. I stared so long the screen dimmed. I double-checked the emojis, as if one might morph back into a puppy. "Say my hog again and I unmatch," I wrote. He shot back immediately, like he'd been waiting with his thumbs hovering. Okay, didn't mean to be gross. Just joking. We can do dinner, and then have a cute BJ if everything goes well. Like a thank you. No pressure. Smiling face with hearts. Somewhere in Houston, a refinery valve squealed. In my apartment, the air went thin. "First dates are for vibes," I said. "That's it. No coupons. Definitely no thank yous." "Totally, darlin'," he replied. "We'll keep it sweet. I'll prove I'm a gentleman." Cowbsat face sparkles. Against my better judgment, I didn't unmatch. Curiosity is the moth of bad decisions. We set a time at a diner in Montrose, neutral ground with fluorescent lights and pie. I told 3 friends where I'd be and shared my location because that's what being a woman has taught me. Romance is fine, a witness is finer. He was waiting in a corner booth under a sun-faded Astros pennant. He stood when I approached, points for manners, then knocked his hip into the table so hard the salt shaker toppled. He wore mismatched cowboy boots, one brown, one nearly black, like his feet had divorced and were seeing different people. A shiny belt buckle glared up at me like a small moon. "Darlin'," he said, mouth rolling the word slow, "you prettier than your pics." "I ain't even lying, Dot." His drawl was honey over gravel, rehearsed friendly. I slid into the booth and felt a tack of sugar on the vinyl. The waitress poured coffee without asking. "How's your?" I began. "My boy's fine," he said, winking. "Your dog?" I asked. He laughed a little too loudly, flickering his eyes to my chest like they were on a spring. "Ah, you're cute." I picked up the menu and searched for something steady. "Eggs." Toast. Exit signs. The waitress returned. He ordered chicken fried steak and 2 biscuits, in case she's hungry. I ordered toast, just to have something to do with my hands. So, what do you do? I asked. Construction. Some welding. Been busy since that storm rolled through. He stopped, glanced beneath the table, swiped at his phone. The screen lit his face ghost blue. The motions were oddly precise, like he was playing a song only his thumbs knew. Everything okay? I said. Just checking a thing, he said. Got a lot of irons in the fire. The waitress left. He leaned in, forearms hair dusted and nicked. Listen, he said softly, I get it. First date's just a vibe check. We go easy. But if we hit it off, little thank you goes a long way, right? He smiled like we shared a secret. Did you just copy and paste that? I asked. His smile twitched. Huh. You're speaking like a flyer, I said. Do you have those lines saved in notes? Cute BJ if it goes well. Is that like your rewards program? He coughed a laugh, then looked wounded. Come on now. I ain't like that. I'm being playful. Playful would have been talking about your dog, I said. He hesitated, then pulled out his phone and turned the screen away, tapping with the concentration of a safecracker. The angle was just wrong enough for me to catch a reflection in the napkin dispenser. A Notes app page titled, Openers White Heavy Checkmark. A bulleted list. I didn't need to read more than the first 3 to feel my stomach lift. Dinner plus cute BJ, no pressure. My boy equals my hog plus crying face eggplant sweat droplets. Gentleman plus darlin' plus boots. He set the phone down. I ain't using lines on you, he said. I'm just, saying what I like. What you like is pressure dressed like charm, I said. He sat back, blew out his cheeks. You Houston girls, he said lightly, but not kindly. Y'all too sensitive. In Dallas they. I'm in Houston, I said. The food arrived. He hacked into his steak like it owed him money. I buttered my toast so slowly I could hear butter breathe. He talked between bites, words coated in gravy. Thing is, he said, I treat a lady right. Open doors. Pay the bill. And she shows appreciation. That's fair. That's how my daddy taught me. You put in, you get out. I heard the unspoken part humming through it like a subwoofer. Love is a vending machine. I shoved quarters in. Where's my candy? You want a dog, I said. Something to reward you on command. He grinned, swallowing. I do like dogs. Your profile said you had one, I said. He shrugged. Used to. Had to rehome him. Work got crazy. He was howling all the time. Apartment below complained. Rehome, I echoed. That's a word like pressure-free. Sounds kinder than it is. He narrowed his eyes, the friendly varnish thinning. You're real judgy for someone eating my toast. It's my toast, I said. He laughed, but it didn't reach anything human. Look, we got off on the wrong foot, he said. I can fix this. He picked up the phone again, thumbs flying. Check this out. He turned the screen toward me triumphantly. It was our chat, edited into a screenshot collage with pink hearts around his messages and a sticker that said be nice. Another note glowed behind it. If she calls you gross, 1 say no pressure, 2, emojis soft, stars, hearts, 3, pay bill 4, try again after dessert. He waited for applause. The fluorescent light buzzed. The Astro's pennant sagged like a tired tongue. You've practiced this, I said. Not being a person, being a funnel. He spread his hands. I optimize. Nothing wrong with efficiency. This city's big. Lotta options. The waitress swung by with the check. He snatched it, wagged a finger at me. Don't you dare, he said and winked. It could have been gallant. It felt like choreography. I let the silence hang. I wanted him to squirm in it. But he smoothed it with talk like Bondo. So Friday night, he said. After dinner, maybe we just see where the night goes. He softened the words with a little boy lilt. No pressure. Here's the thing, I said. You keep saying no pressure, like a spell that erases the pressure you're applying. Words don't work like that. I'm trying to be respectful, he said. I'm a gentleman. Gentlemen don't run scripts, I said. And they don't call their penis their boy. That cracked something. He smirked, a meaner man peeking out. Ah, darlin', you knew what it meant. Don't act brand new. Y'all send eggplants same as us. Grandmas use eggplant, I said. In lasagna. He rolled his eyes, then leaned forward, breath heavy with diner coffee. Look, I'm telling you what I want. Honesty is sexy. Honesty is sexy, I agreed, when it isn't entitlement. I slid out of the booth. Thanks for the toast. He blinked. We ain't had dessert. I'm full, I said. He reached a hand like he might stand, like he might block, then thought better of it. He sat there with his mismatched boots and his tiny moon belt and his open notes app of strategies. The waitress caught my eye. I tipped her at the register, extra for the quiet witness, and stepped into the humid Houston night, where cicadas stitched the dark together. He messaged me at 6:11 a.m. Yo, I'm keeping it real. I just got out after 8 years in Rahway. I'm trying to bang you. I read it 3 times, waiting for the punchline to arrive on a separate bus. His profile had one photo, a close crop of a face with prison-pale skin and dark, jittery eyes. A Yankees cap, tilted like an afterthought. Bio, honest. Loyal. No games. Location, Jersey City Heights, 2 miles away. I typed, backspaced. Typed again. That's direct. Straight up, he replied instantly, the typing dots feral. Ain't got time to play. World moved on without me. I'm celebrating. You cute. Let's make it a good day. I set my phone down as if it might burn the table. The morning was blue and quiet, bus brakes sighing on Palisade Avenue. In my kitchen, the kettle clicked off. I poured tea and wondered what his 8 years had been, what they had made of him, and what he now felt entitled to for surviving them. What were you in for? I asked, hating my own curiosity. He sent a shrug emoji. Long story. Paperwork. Fights. It's over. I did my time. Fresh start. Where you at? I don't meet strangers in the morning, I said. Or in general, without coffee first. Cool, he wrote. We can do coffee. Then bang. I laughed, a sharp bark I didn't recognize as mine. My neighbor's kid thudded down the hallway. The dog down the hall barked twice, and the world felt stubbornly normal, while this man typed like the sidewalk was a treadmill beneath his feet. Here's the thing, I wrote. You don't know me, and you're asking for my body like it's a free sample at Costco. He replied with voice notes, because why keep a boundary intact when you can kick it? The first note was an accent made of Newark grit and path echoes, sentences running yellow lights. Listen, let me just be real. 8 years, I had nobody. Letters stopped. Phone calls stopped. I kept my head, did my programs, I ain't dumb. I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I just want to feel like a human again. I want a day that don't smell like bleach. That honest enough. I pressed the phone to my shoulder, steam from my tea fogging my glasses. Honesty is a scalpel. It can heal or cut. I sent a voice note back because now we were in it. That's a lot. I'm sorry for what you lost. But I'm not here to make up for time served. I don't owe you my body for your bad years. There was a pause. Then another note softer. Aight. Respect. So coffee. For real. I'll be normal. Promise. Normal. The promise was a red flag dressed as a white one. I agreed to meet in the most public place I could think of at noon. The boardwalk in Hoboken, where strollers thrum, runners wheeze, and the skyline keeps watch. Before I left, I texted 4 friends my plan and shared my location, then put on a big denim jacket that could double as armor. He was already there, leaning against the railing near the carousel like a man in a world that keeps moving even when you don't. He had the same hat, the same sharp cheekbones, the same eyes that never stopped gathering data. When he saw me, he straightened and did something like a smile. Yo, he said, lowering his chin and raising his eyebrows, a gesture that felt like learned friendliness. You look like your pictures. You look like a night with no windows, I said in my head. Out loud, hi. We walked toward the coffee stand and he narrated the dock pilings, the river chop, the cops on bikes, as if he was showing off a city he'd memorized from a distance. Smells different, he said. Even the water. It's like everything got a filter while I was gone. What did you miss the most? I asked. He didn't look at me when he answered. Noise I can choose, he said. Privacy. A door that locks from the inside. Food that ain't beige. The sound of women laughing. A bed you can sprawl on. A name that ain't a number. We reached the stand. He ordered a hot chocolate because coffee makes me bounce, and I suddenly couldn't stop itemizing that sentence. He paid with cash, counting it out too carefully, as if the paper could bite. We sat on a bench facing Manhattan. A seagull watched like a small cop. Okay, he said, rubbing his hands. So I ain't gonna lie. I said what I said. I want to smash. But I can not say that for a minute. That's not the same as not wanting it, I said. He grinned, unnecessarily boyish. I'm honest. Girls say they want honesty. Girls want safety, I said. Honesty is good if it doesn't threaten that. He rolled the cup between his palms. I ain't no threat. I learned my lesson. You know what I do? I breathe. I count. I walk away. I got a counselor. Dude's named Sal. Big eyebrows. He says I got tools now. He said tools like a badge. I nodded. Tools are good, I said, hearing the part he hadn't said, what he needed them for. He leaned back, the river wind lifting the brim of his cap. Look, he said, and his voice got smaller, almost hopeful. In there, everything is a trade. Commissary for favors, favors for protection, protection for sleep. You feel me? Out here, y'all got apps. You swipe. You match. We go eat. You text. You ghost. Same game, different clothes. I'm just speaking plain. Plain can still be sharp, I said. You talk like I owe you something for showing up. Like I'm your celebration party. He lifted his hands, surrender or emphasis. Nah, not oh. But like, why we pretend? Why we do the dance? Because the dance is the point, I said, and the words surprised me with their clarity. Because care is a sequence. Because bodies are not vending machines. He stared at the water. The ferry honked, a toddler honked back. After a while he said, 8 years, I got good at 2 things, fighting and waiting. I'm trying not to be the first. The second? I'm tired of it. I believe you, I said. And I'm still not coming home with you. He nodded slowly. Aight. He sipped his hot chocolate, like it could teach him patience. Then tell me something normal. Like what you did this weekend. I did laundry, I said. Played volleyball. Bought a plant I will inevitably kill. You. He barked a laugh. I walked. From Journal Square to here. I listened to the same song 6 times. I went to a bodega and almost cried at the cereal aisle. I took a shower without shower shoes. I stood in line for pizza and didn't flinch when a dude bumped me. He stopped, blinked hard. I'm tired of asking permission to exist. You don't need my permission, I said gently. But you do need my consent. His jaw worked. Respect, he said again, softer this time, like he'd discovered a vein of the element beneath the word. I ain't good with courtship. Feels fake. It's not fake, I said. It's care. It's the way to show you know what you're touching. He looked at my hands where they cupped my cup, at the skyline pretending to be permanent, at the dog trotting past with a bandana that said adopt me. He was quiet so long I thought maybe he'd slipped back into some internal rec yard. Finally he said, Can I ask you something and you not roast me? Try. You think I should be dating? He forced the shrug. Or I should do more tools first. I exhaled slow. I think you should build a life that isn't about taking. Get a routine that isn't survival math. Find places to be soft without putting someone else on the hook for it. Then maybe try again. He nodded like a man memorizing an unfamiliar prayer. Aight, he said. Aight. He stood, stuck out his hand, then thought better and pulled it back. I appreciate the talk. For real. Be safe, I said and meant it.